the harms of human trafficking. So, what exactly is human trafficking? Human trafficking is the recruitment and or movement of someone within or across borders through the abuse of power position with the intention of forced exploitation, commercial, or other use. And so here's a graphical representation of what different types of human trafficking that there is. 21.5% of the global population is affected by forced sexual exploitation. 10.5% of the global population is affected by state-imposed forced labor, whereas 67.9% is affected by forced labor exploitation. And who is affected by this harm? 40% of women and 60% of men are affected by labor exploitation in the private economy, and 98.9% women and 2% men are affected by sexual exploitation in the private economy. Here's a graphical representation of the different countries that are affected by human trafficking. The United States is very low on the spectrum, whereas the Middle East and Russia have high numbers of people affected by human trafficking. How many people are exactly affected by this? According to studies done, 20 to 37 million are affected by human trafficking. A majority of these people are children. Though estimates are likely have some degree of inaccuracy because it's hard to measure an illicit market. A glimpse into the horror. Lena is a first-hand victim of human trafficking. She said that we did not have a right to choose where we lived, freedom of speech, or freedom of actions. The traffickers had keys to our apartment. They controlled all of us, our movements and travel. They watched us and listened to us when we called our parents. They did not let us make friends or tell anyone where we were going. We were stuck. We couldn't let anyone or ask anyone for help. The Pacific Standard wrote an article about human trafficking stating, "We do not know that people around the world are forced into labor and sex slavery against their will, a situation that politicians and advocates across the world agree is reprehensible." Human trafficking is an injustice that must be dealt with immediately. In order to end the issue, it's important to understand just exactly how it comes about. A lot of human traffickers get their victims through social media of unknowing victims, young, and they also use false advertisements to get people. The illusion of human trafficking is that it only occurs in third world countries, whereas statistics show that it is actually occurring in high numbers in the United States. There are several efforts being done to end human trafficking. Dan Omar is an executive member of the Worthwhile Wear, which is an organization that was developed to help victims of sex trafficking. President Obama has also drawn national attention to human trafficking. In his proclamation, he stated, "Over a century and a half after President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, millions remain in bondage, children forced to take part in armed conflict or sold to brothels by their destitute families, men and women who toil for little or no pay, who are threatened and beaten if they try to escape. Slavery tears at our social fabric, fuels violence and organized crime." There's also several other organizations created throughout the United States and world programs to help those who have been affected by this awful harm. The United States has created Human Trafficking Awareness Month, which is created just to bring awareness to the issue, and we're excited.